reached chapter 5 today. And chapter 5 is basically another scary chapter, I would like to say. It talks about, again, where God's people turned against him and the consequences thereof. So we start off here with the inhabitants of Jerusalem and the men of Judah who is going to be judged, right? It starts off where they use a parable of a man who, or let's say Jerusalem and Judah, got a vineyard and they planted grapes. And instead of brought forth proper grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. And because they can't use the grapes now, they basically leave it to waste and let it be consumed. And that is basically what God allowed for his people, meaning that he picked and chosen us, because in his will he says all are called but few are chosen. And those who refuse the call, this was like their punishment then, right? Woe unto them that join the house of house and lay field to field, and there shall be no place that there may be place alone in the midst of the earth, right? Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink and continue until night, till wine inflame them. So he's talking about the drunks. And the harp and the viol and the tablet and the pipe and wine are in their feast, but they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operations of their hand. So remember when we read in Revelation, it was something similar to this, where the streets were full of dancing and drinking and feast, but God wasn't present in it, right? Therefore, my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge. And their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. And the hell had enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and they glory with their multitude and their pomp, and they shall rejoice and descend unto it. In other words, remember the parable in Revelation where they talk about the brides being ready, where 7 were ready and 7 were not. This is basically similar to that, where people were so consumed with enjoying themselves and drinking and doing what they want that they forgot God. And when the time came now, they were not aware that God was near. The end of the earth was near. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty shall be humble, and the eyes of the lofty shall stumble. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment with God that is holy and sanctified in righteousness. So even though those who are in position, they have no match against God. And we read that in Revelations, right? And they continue here saying how they suffered. And he said here, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. God always say, let him direct your path. Always seek him first, that his ways are better than our ways, right? Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, but justified for the reward. They're looking for reward and take away the righteousness or the righteous from him. And this is actually happening now, because when you read in the news, you hear rapists getting off of bail, murderers, pedophiles, and where is the righteous in that? It come like they were basically being rewarded. You have a lot of people who committed crimes to just get off because they have money, right? And therefore the fire devoured the stubble, and the flame consumed the chaff, and it be like rotten. In other words, that is it. Once this had to happen, everything that God gives us will just be, as I say, cast away, because it cast away the law of the Lord, right? And God's anger kindled against his people. So everything started to basically break down, right? And he stretched forth his hands against them and had smitten them, and the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the street. So imagine people could be fighting, and that is how they're going to end up, because there's no peace. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still, right? And he said, none shall slumber, none shall sleep, And he even comes down where people, when they're looking for food, they won't find food, right? And the sorrow and the light is darkened in the heavens thereof. Once you rebel against God, that is basically it. You can't see your way. Everything that you have and have temporary enjoyment and pleasure will eventually come to a bitter end. And sometimes it's too late. Some people stray from God and they they try to enjoy the worldly matter, and when they die now, their heart will far from God. So despite what happens, you know, always be close to God. He didn't say don't enjoy the gifts and the blessings that he gives us here on earth, because he wants us to have life and have it more abundantly. But as I always say, don't forget the blesser. Don't enjoy the blessing that you forget God. So hopefully tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 6.